Misconceptions about middle schoolers with ADHD, struggling with executive functioning are literally everywhere. You've probably found a lot of advice, received a lot of advice on how to parent your middle schooler with ADHD, with executive functioning skills. And listen, I'm sure this advice is coming from a good place, but I need to make sure that you're aware that a lot of the advice that's out there is not only not going to help, but it could actually do more harm than good. Actually, tell me in the comments what advice you just recently got or have gotten in the past. Let me know in the comments below. So today's video, we're going to jump into 5 misconceptions about your middle schooler's ADHD. By the end of this video, I want you to acknowledge these 5 misconceptions and poof, release them into the universe, because then you are going to be open for the possibilities of how you can really help navigate this ADHD for your middle schooler. Okay, number 1, super easy. Medication is the only approach for ADHD. That is a misconception, right? Medication combined with strategies, preferred executive functioning skills is the best way, and it is actually the recommended way to treat ADHD. I am not here to say that medication is good or bad, but if medication is recommended, just like everything else, when we're trying to do anything to improve ourselves or our kids, it's one of the parts of your parenting toolkit, right? Is medication. The next part needs to be teaching them the skills to navigate their ADHD and their executive functioning skills. There's a cheesy little quote, but I love it. I don't know who said it. I didn't make it up. Pills don't teach skills. So medication is definitely an option, but medication with executive functioning skills is the best combination if you want to see results for your kiddo. Number 2, discipline is the best way to address ADHD. Discipline is the best way to help your kid with their executive functioning skills. Here's the thing. Traditional discipline, which involves punishments and shaming, are actually not doing the 2 things that your kiddo needs most. Number 1, connection, so that they feel understood and they trust you. And number 2, it eliminates the possibility of figuring out the source of the problem and then having you be the trusted resource to help them figure out what to do next and how to do it better, and maybe even debrief and figure out why did they, make such a big screw up. So traditional discipline is not going to do anything except create shame and embarrassment and really put a wedge between you and your child, and that is exactly the opposite of what your child struggling with executive functioning needs, especially your middle schooler. All right, number 3, the misconception is that executive functioning skills only cause a commotion in your academics and in your school day, and that is 100% not true. This is also part of my training as an occupational therapist. We want to look at your child as a whole person, right? Like it or not, academics is a place where we mostly measure our kids, right? Testing, grading, projects, more grading, more testing, right? So we're constantly getting measured there. So we're not leveling up. It's very obvious to see when we're not, equivalent to our peers. However, academics plays a very small role in the success of your child as a human, awesome human in this life. So make sure that we are looking at all the areas that executive functioning skills are causing chaos, because they're going to need support in all the areas, not only academics. Okay, number 4 is the one that I hate the most in the whole wide world. I've been in meetings where people very good-heartedly say, well, they just need to try a little harder, they're doing great, and they know they need to try harder. Listen, the playing field is not even for these kids, right? This is like telling me to cook a Thanksgiving turkey, which I already don't want to do, and then giving me an oven that doesn't work. I can try as hard as I want. The turkey is going to come out horrible. This is the same thing we ask for our kids. I know I get a little excited about this because the playing field is not even for them. When we're asking them to try harder without giving them strategies, support, scaffolding. So telling and expecting them it's a two-way street, right? Telling your middle schooler to try harder. I bet your middle schooler is trying harder than everybody. And if they quit and they're in the, what I call they're on strike, it's because at one point they tried over and over and they tried harder than everybody else and they didn't get anywhere. So they're like, I'm done here, people, peace out. So they either tried harder or they are still trying harder than anybody else. And it's kind of like what they say about insanity. You can't keep doing the same thing twice. We need to show up for our kids and we need to give them different strategies until we find the one that works for them. And the very popular, I think I hate the last one more than this one. I don't like this one either, but not as much. They'll outgrow it. The thing is that sometimes our kids with ADHD and executive functioning skills do look like they have outgrown it because they've kind of learned to read the room a little bit, right? They may have learned to figure things out somewhat enough so that they're able to navigate their day and do all right. But knowing that ADHD is a developmental disorder, a lot of times what happens with these kiddos is that they're doing okay now, so it looks like they grew out of it, but many times it doesn't show up again until college. I actually talked to a parent and it didn't show up again for her until they were in medical school, you guys, medical school. Obviously, she did okay. She got herself into medical school. Medical school is really challenging, but a lot of times it will come back again if the skills aren't taught when they're younger, and vice versa. This is why I want you to bless and release these 5 misconceptions, because when we don't believe this, when we don't believe that they'll outgrow it, when we don't believe that they're going to try harder and that's going to fix it, when we don't believe that if we punish them, then they're gonna learn how to study for that chemistry test, then guess what happens? We are open to possibilities. And then all of a sudden, our brain is looking for solutions. How can we put the right strategies, pull the right levels to help our kids? So this is where you're able to be like, you know, they may outgrow it, but they may not. So in the meanwhile, we are gonna practice packing that bag in middle school because they've got to take a flute, they have football pads, they have an iPad that needs to be charged, and that's like 20 things that as a grown adult woman, I'm probably not gonna, remember to do them all. So, once we bless and release these misconceptions, then we're open to possibilities of what can we do to get ahead of the problem, and to remember, we want to teach them the skills, because in these middle school years, a lot of developmental markers are getting hit. And I'm telling you, I've said it 5,000 times already, if you saw my last video. These middle school kids of ours are being, left behind. Maybe not so much academically, but they're being left behind because they're not getting the skills that they need to learn during this critical time frame. We have blessed and released these misconceptions. Now, I need you to know how to get your kid with ADHD and executive functioning skills to actually start something, do it, complete it, and turn it in, right? And I'm not just talking about academics. I'm talking about closets, sports equipment, musical instruments. So that's what this next video is all about, teaching you how to get your kid to finally start something, complete it, and be done with it, all right? Because our kids with executive functioning skills really struggle with getting things done, right? So that's what I'm going to teach you in the next video.